I think 2 years ago when I was studying for the bar exam, there was one night where I called you like at 11:30. I was like, Shihan, I'm
Yeah.
just there's so much going on. It's just, but and so by no means am I above it. I'm working
Yeah, we're
on it
all
as well.
working on it.
But a cool mind really does prevail.
Right.
And I think no matter where you are, whether it be being on bottom mount of a 300-pound strong,
Sweaty
guy, or just being on the other side of the courtroom and just dealing with all sorts of issues that you either didn't anticipate or things didn't go your way. I think it's sometimes you just got to take a step back, a metaphorical step back, and
Yeah.
just really reassess
Yeah.
what's going on and
Yeah.
what it is that we can do. Reacting won't do anything. It just won't.
Makes matters worse most
Yeah.
times.
And maybe it'll provide hindsight later on down the road, but otherwise,
Right.
it makes matters worse.
Being in the military, like we've talked about the importance of discipline,
Yes.
of discipline action, of like, doing things a certain way. And how do you can you share with me or with the audience, like, what's your thought around that? What's your thought around, the importance of disciplined action, the importance of protocol, the importance of like, I don't think a lot of people, at least at first blush, understand, and we're certainly not, we don't have a paramilitary operation at the schools. That's not what I'm getting at. But the martial arts, in particular Japanese martial arts, has a protocol, has a system,
A standard.
a standard, right?
Yeah.
Beautifully put, a standard. And so, like, in retrospect, like, you went through boot camp, you went through military training, you spent this weekend, like, I guess, renewing or sharpening the saw, right?
Yep.
You do that quarterly, you do it monthly?
It's monthly. Yes.
Right? So there's an active, sharpening of the saw that you participate in. And so can you share like some general thoughts around the importance of these standards?
I think it's just a matter of presenting yourself well at all times. So whether it be shining your boot, whether it be hospital folding your bed, it's the way that we sharpen ourselves up behind the scenes will really dictate how we present ourselves when, knock on wood, we're marching into war. Like,
Right.
and it's
Or in the context of a street fight or a self-defense situation. Right.
anything. And
Right.
I remember being in boot camp. It was January 2016. We were in Missouri, winter, really cold. And every day at 3:30 in the morning, the loudspeaker would go off and the drill sergeant would just yell, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." And he would repeat that and yell that really loudly at 3:30, 3:45 in the
gosh.
morning. And as soon as you wake up, you need to hospital fold your bed, meaning the edge of the bed needs to be a 45-degree angle. It needs to be crisp. There can't be a single wrinkle out. If there is, they're going to toss all your shit outside and they're going to tell you to go outside, pick it up, come back
Redo it.
in and redo it. They would make sure that all your boots are underneath your bed, positioned a certain way, facing a certain way. And I think a lot of it is tradition, but a lot of it is also just professionalism and discipline. And we want to make sure that we're presenting ourselves well, that we have this attention to detail.
Yeah.
So that attention to detail carries itself from something that may seem
Innocuous,
as
right.
as minute as, oh, why do I need to shine my boots?
Right. Or your belt buckle.
Or my belt buckle. Or to why do I need to fold my bed? I'm gonna lay in it later. To
Right.
something as grandiose as, let me make sure my weapon's ready, it's clean, and let me make sure that the guys that I'm walking with, that I'm in charge of, when we walk into some mission or whatever the case might be, everything is done correctly and appropriately. So that way, if unforeseen challenge comes this way, whatever that might be, it's handled appropriately because of all of this repetition and attention to detail that we give in these little things.
And the mental discipline that it takes, the fortitude that it takes. That's something I'm trying to stress in class all the time.
Doesn't come overnight.
Oh, no.
It's repetition.
Hell
it's
no.
Kaizen, always, over and over.
Years and years of it, right? But then, it gives you the best chance of success too, because it's in your body. It's in there. And like, everybody looks at the top athletes or the top people that are competing, and they think like, oh, I just got to do it like them. But they don't realize that that there's only one person in the world like that. The rest of us have to go through like a training protocol. And I believe that's why the Japanese, they're genius in this way, because I'll stay away from the U.S. military. I've never been in the U.S. military, so anything I have to comment about is peripheral, but it does seem to work. The protocols, the standards, the direction that they drive the soldier in works. And so, but I have been in Japanese karate my whole life, and Japanese judo, and Jiu Jitsu as an offshoot, and all that. So the training methodology works for 99.9% of the people. And that's what I like. If I'm going to rest my ladder against a wall, it's going to be that.
Absolutely.
It's certainly not going to be like this athletic phenom that, has like all of the gifts and talents and a great work ethic. Gordon's got a great work ethic. I know him. I have nothing bad to say again, but he's the one guy. He's the Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
He's the name any other. He's the Tiger Woods. He's the top.
He's the top of the top.
And there's only, but like most of us will never, ever be that way. But that doesn't mean we can't achieve greatness in our own lives with a protocol, with a standard, and with a deep love for what we're doing.
Absolutely. I think.
I love that there's so many parallels. I really love that you have the experience to draw from them, man.
No, thank you. And it's not something that I saw right away either. I think whether it be the stubbornness or really just this prefixed mindset of separating everything. Yeah.
Compartmentalizing?
Yep. But I think the moment where I noticed, my jujitsu's, my training's not so different from, a lot of what we do in the military. Or, my jujitsu or what we do in the military is really not so different from being in the courtroom. There are a lot of, while there are some on the paper surface level differences, at its core, a lot of it's, it's very similar, it's very mutual, and if anything, it adds to the surface level differences that are there. And in the military, we have this saying of being dress right dress, and what that means is everything needs to be positioned in a way where it's all the same, it's all equal. Meaning, if this coffee cup, if this coffee cup is faced that way, yours has to as well.
Right.
Like yeah, there you go.
Mine doesn't have a wait. Oh, now it is.
Great. So that way we won't do push-ups. But from that to in the classroom to everyone presenting themselves well, standing tall, bowing appropriately. Like one of the things that just irks me the most is when like people bow and then like your feet are wide open, your fingertips aren't by your pants. It's like you're a bobbler. It's like, what are you doing?
It's not the bow though. It's what the bow represents, and it's how you presenting
and
yourself.
it's like how you're presenting yourself now.
Man.
It's not the best.
I know.
And one thing that's the same is like in the military when you stand at the position of attention, and what that means is your heels are touching, your toes are out at a 45-degree angle, your hands are folded in and they're glued to the seams of your pants. The shoulders are back, your eyes are forward, and that's very similar to how in the Japanese martial arts how we bow.
I try to communicate in the classroom. Like people will want to sit any which way but loose. Like they want to
Yeah.
like show their crotch, they want to like scratch, places that shouldn't be
Yeah.
scratched in public, like all kinds of things while they're watching
So,
the
yeah.
technique. I'm like, no, 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 no. Everybody, you get two choices on the way you
Yep.
sit or the way you stand. You're in kneeling seiza position, or you're in a cross-legged position with your back straight. And what I understand only later on is that those positions, when your spine is straight and when your head is over your hips and when your eyes are open and you're breathing well, that you're learning better. You're more cognitive, you're more attentive,
Mm-hmm.
you're more relaxed
Yep.
in your thinking. So that way you are able to absorb more. These like physiological positions help you learn better in this like
Yeah.
nonsensical like approach to learning, to something so beautiful as jujitsu, like that it doesn't matter. It does matter. And it does matter for most of us who are not like, look, man, I've been to the world stage. I'm 6-time national champion. Like I beat the world champion. I've beat up in jujitsu visiting world champions, sent them home in tears. And I'm still not one of the greats. Like I just don't like, and whatever accomplishments I have are only because the training methodology gave it to
It
me.
works.
It works. And I think there's a difference. I just want to make a clarification. Stubbornness and tenacity are, I believe, two different things. Like when you're just a ram banging your head against the wall, it's nonsensical. When you have tenacity, when you have drive, when you have discipline, when you have like a never quit spirit, that's another thing. That's a whole other idea. Like stubbornness gets your knee torn, my knee torn. It happened to me. And, stick-to-itiveness, self-discipline, a never quit spirit. Those are phenomenal tools. Phenomenal tools. Professor Luke, what are some of the more important ideas? Because you touched on a couple of them, like that you've learned either through our relationship or relationships with other black belts like Brett Rand. Uh, what are a couple of like key thought models or ideas that you work with that you think could help students that are, or other martial artists or other people outside the martial arts that are listening to the podcast? What are a couple of gems, if you will?
The first thing that comes to mind is, once we set a standard for ourselves, there's no room for complacency. And if anything, it's the opposite. We need to ensure that we're actively embodying that standard. And, if I were to put it to one word, it would be accountability.
Uh-huh.
Holding myself accountable to my progress. Understanding that there will be challenges, but it's not okay to get complacent. It's not okay to plateau for a long period of time. And the best lawyers that I've seen, the best martial artists that I've seen, the best leaders that I've seen in the military, um, are those that embody the standard, actively display the standard, and constantly worked on just being the standard. And I think accountability is a really big part in that. It takes a lot for anyone, but really it takes a lot for a male to look at themselves in the mirror and say, "Did I do what I was supposed to do or what I told myself I would do? And if not, why? And then what can I do to fix that?" A lot of people will just brush it off. And so I think just being accountable to yourself, to your teacher, to your peers is it's key. And I'm seeing this in real time in our training together. Like, get that underhook,
Oh yeah, yeah,
get it,
right, right, right,
or avoid it, right?
right. Right, we're underhook centric right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like if I'm getting complacent or if I'm allowing that thought to stray away even temporarily, Like I need to reel it back in.
You're getting
Yeah,
punished,
yeah.
or
I felt it.
yeah, sure.
And so I think just
What a
that.
beautiful analogy.
I think
Perfect.
just that active reminder of like you need to work on X, Y, and Z. Really, what you talk about, tenacity. Like work towards it. Make the mistakes, but make the mistakes while you're working towards it, rather than
Avoidance, right? Yeah.
having this avoidance mindset.
Oh my gosh.
That's one that I'm actively working on. I'm seeing it play in real time, for better and for worse.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I think accountability really does promote a strong individual. It does. And you know, I can't speak for everyone in the military, but where I went for training for about 2-3 months, they send you off to after boot camp. You go to like another boot camp, but the second boot camp is more job centric, right? So it's a lot of it's classroom training, or it's really focused on whatever it is that your specific position within the military is, right? Whether it be paralegal, whether it be infantry, whether it be intelligence workers, like everyone is gonna after boot camp is gonna branch off to their own their own field, their own job
Right.
training. And where we went, we had a motto. Our motto was "We are the standard."
We are the standard.
Yeah, and we said that every day, like almost 1,000 times a day. From standing in attention and yelling "We are the standard" to being released and yelling "We are the standard." It's something that was ingrained in us,
Sure.
and it's something that we were really pushed to, like, we need to work on this, like, and we need to do it all the time. And I think seeing it from a legal perspective, where, like, those of those people that are in our profession, where you're interpreting the law, or you're ensuring that the law is followed appropriately, but the law is the standard,
Yes.
and we can't deviate from that. If we do, then
Trouble.
there's trouble. And so, as lawyers, more than anything else, that's a profession where you need to be the standard. You need to appropriately enforce, or behave within these regulations, within these guidelines. You know,
Like I love this. I think it's so genius. And I think that a lot of people shy away, like, from this kind of indoctrination. And I don't have a problem with it, because, like, the Dojo Kun, for instance, seek perfection of character, be faithful, endeavor, respect others, refrain from violent behavior. Those are ideas that I want to embody. Like, yeah, so I'm going to, like, train myself to like have that operating in my consciousness. And I think that is a genius move. It's like this. I think that this idea, and, like, actively in our relationship, actively in our work together, actively in our training together, I mean, it is operating. You are the standard, and you come at it that way, and it serves you. Your progress skyrockets. And, I've said this to you, like, you saved Bay Parkway. You saved that school. You saved those students. You stood up. You took, a leadership role in a moment where it was really, really hard. And I'm forever grateful to you for that. And the more I know about you, the more I see where it really comes from. And it comes from this, the embracement of accountability. And I think that those things are good. That we foster them.
and I think when we do foster it, it brings others up. And earlier, the first thing you asked tonight was, what have I taken out of being a professor? And it's really servant leadership. This
Yep.
idea that we're here not to bolster our own selves, but to serve our students, to serve our community, and to assist them in the best way possible. And the best way to do that is by holding yourself accountable, because when you do that, it brings others up. I know you had my good friend PJ on the podcast.
Yeah, last week.
One of the best guys I know. And oftentimes people ask about our relationship, like, wow, how is your guys' relationship so good in your training, in your career? And we hold each other accountable, you know? Hey, where you been? Why haven't you trained?
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
Or what, PJ, you said you're going to work on this idea, or Ali, but what's happening?
Yeah.
And so, I think when we hold ourselves accountable and then we create or we foster an environment where others have that same mindset,
Yeah.
that's really what allows everyone to take that big leap forward together.
David Data, who wrote The Way of the Superior Man, insists that males need to do that for other males. And I note that a few reasons why we don't. We ultimately see other males as a competition, and if another strong male is out there, then there's a lack of resources for ourselves, so we don't build other males up. We are ourselves insecure, so we don't hold other people accountable. We don't want to be held accountable. There's so many reasons, but when you actively do it in the right way, you build relationships, real relationships that don't fail with other males. Not a lot of people have that, man. Not a lot. And so I'm so happy for you and him to have each other like that. And yes, we got to hold each other accountable. And we fall. It's not like most males are trained to ridicule other males when they fall. Or, and I was trained to do it. I was a master at it. And it took me so long to try to come out of it, to try to work on myself, because ultimately behind it is a deep sense of insecurity. It's a deep hole. It's really how it feels, like a hole. So I commend you, man. And give permission. Again, this may sound male-centric. I think it would be rude to talk from a woman's standpoint because we don't know. And I don't know how it is. I maybe know how certain things feel as it relates to trauma, as it relates to experiences. But I don't know, so I don't want to talk about it from that point. And so, man, give other people permission to do the same and to raise up.
I think it's really difficult for a lot of men to see that you can be strong, you can be
fierce,
you can be a great leader.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can be loving.
Yep.
And like you said, love can be as gentle as a feather, or it could be as strict as an iceberg.
Yeah.
And, I think that's really where that accountability lies.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah. Well done, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
These are things we're still working on, but
very good. Very good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gentle Art Podcast. Please share, rate, and review. And if you have any questions or you'd like to reach out, please contact us at the GentleArtPodcast@gmail.com, or contact us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or thegentleartpodcast.com.